How to do a plie in ballet. A plie is a simple ballet step that is learned while covering the basics. There are two versions of a plie, a demi plie and a grand plie. You can perform each version from all 5 ballet positions. By learning the right form and movements, you can learn how to plie in minutes. However, mastering the form can take years. Method 1. Doing a demi plie. 1. Learn the different ballet positions. There are 5 different foot positions in ballet, and you can perform a demi plie, half bend, in all of them. This means that to perform a proper demi plie from each position, you must first be comfortable with the basic positions. Each position utilizes turn out, which is the rotation of the leg from the hip joint. The objective is to have the heels and toes face perpendicular to the direction of the body rather than parallel. Do not expect to perform a perfect turn out immediately. Forcing turn out can cause many injuries. Even some professional dancers do not have perfect turn out after years of practice. In addition to each position having a different foot placement, each position also utilizes a different arm placement or port de bras. You can read more information on the different ballet positions at How to Do All 5 Ballet Positions. 2. Begin in first position. Though you can perform a demi plie in any of the 5 positions, use the first position for initial practice. First position requires the heels be placed touching, or close to it, with your legs turned out as close to 180 degrees as you can manage. You also want to have your legs and back straight. The turn out should come mostly from the leg at the hip joint. Do not place excess strain on the knees or ankles by forcing each foot closer to 90 degrees than you can do normally. Use your muscles to keep your knees over the feet rather than the two being out of alignment. Initially, your turn out in first position will look more like a V than a straight line. A wider turn out simply comes with practice. 3. Bend with your toes. The demi plie or half bend refers to the bending of the knees, so you need to lower yourself by bending at the knees. Your upper body should remain in the same position, shoulders down, head up, bottom tucked, throughout the movement. One of the most common problems with plie form for beginners is due to sticking out one's butt while lowering as though lowering into a crouch. Don't stick your backside out or adjust your hips, simply lower at the knees while keeping the rest of the body straight. 4. Keep your heels planted. Demi plies, regardless of the beginning position, require the heels to stay firmly planted on the ground. Do not bend so far that it forces your heels to come off the ground. Rather than a deep bend, which is the territory of a grand plie, you only want to bend your knees until they extend just over your toes. 5. Rise slowly and gracefully. While ballet dancers do rise quickly out of plies and use them as springboards for jumps and pirouettes, beginners should practice rising slowly and fluidly to help perfect the form. Rather than simply straightening your knees, you want to push your weight straight down into the floor with your legs and feet to push yourself back up. Using the legs and feet gives the motion much more fluidity, and it also places less strain on the knees. Continue keeping your shoulders down, head up, and bottom tucked during the upward movement. The motion should look more like the upper body is elevating rather than standing up, since the upper body should already be straight. 6. Return to first position. To finish the demi plie, you will continue rising until the thighs and knees and back together. You will return to first position the same as you were in before performing the demi plie. 7. Practice demi plies from other positions. Once you feel comfortable with the basics of a demi plie in first position, you can try plies from the other 4 ballet positions as well. They are harder, particularly in 5th position, so have patience and practice without rushing yourself. Method 2. Doing a grand plie. 1. Understand the difference between a demi plie and a grand plie. Both demi and grand plies refer to bending at the knees, and both can be done in all 5 ballet positions. The major difference between the two comes in the depth of the bend and how that has an effect on the placement of one's heels. 2. Assume first position. Once again, this example will use first position since it's the most common training position for beginners. 3. Bend at the knees. As with a demi plie, a grand plie requires you to bend at the knees. However, with a grand plie you will not stop with your knees just slightly over your toes. 4. Lift your heels off the ground. Since you are bending further down at the knees in a grand plie, your heels will naturally come off the ground. Even though the weight shifts to the forward parts of your feet entirely, your upper body should be perfectly straight, meaning your center of gravity should still feel as though you are standing with legs straight. The exceptions to this rule are when performing a grand plie from second position. The wider stance of second position allows the dancer to descend fully while still maintaining floor contact with the heels of the feet. 5. Continue bending your knees until your thighs are nearly horizontal. Once your heels come off the ground, you should have an easier time descending even lower in the grand plie. Continue lowering as far as you can until your thighs are nearly horizontal and your knees are almost fully bent. As with a demi plie, the upper body should be straight throughout the entire movement with the shoulders down, back straight, head up, tailbone dropped, and stomach tight. 6. Rise back to first position. As with a demi plie, you will return to your initial starting position, in this case first position. When rising, you once again want to use the feet and legs rather than simply the knees to straighten. Push down with your raised heels to reconnect them with the floor as soon as possible in the rising motion. 7. Make all bending movements gracefully. As with all ballet movements, every movement should be performed fluidly and gracefully without jerking. This can take practice. 8. Practice grand plies from other positions. Once you feel comfortable performing grand plies from first position, you should begin practicing them from the other starting positions as well. Tips. Keep your shoulders down and back straight. Also, in every position, divide your weight between both feet evenly, so you don't topple over in the plie. Don't stick out your butt or lean forward. Use a ballet bar while learning the different positions and movements. For all plies, always maintain the original position and keep your posture well aligned, with your body weight even on both feet. Your body should lift at the same speed that you went down into the plie position. Legs should be turned out from the hips, knees open and thrust out over the toes. Though a springboard for teaching fourth and fifth positions, third position is rarely used outside of training beginner ballet dancers. Warnings. Turn out from your legs at the hip joints. Don't force your knees and ankles to bend at uncomfortable angles because it will lead to injury. Start wherever your turn out is comfortable. Getting each foot to 90 degrees simply takes a lot of time and practice. Don't overdo it. Muscle, tendon, and joint injuries can occur from pushing oneself too hard in ballet.